Did you put Christmas on a credit card? Don't stress out about that extra holiday spending. SaveWithConrad.com can help you consolidate all of your high interest rate credit cards into one much lower monthly payment. SaveWithConrad.com has helped families just like yours save up to $800 a month. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. And did I mention no payments until March? So don't make saving money a resolution next year. Make it happen today at SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Good, buddy. How are you, man? Happy Gobble Gobble Day. Is life treating you well? Did Turkey Day treat you well?
Man, we had a fantastic Thanksgiving. Hope you and yours did as well. We greatly appreciate you guys tuning in to a special edition of My World. Of course, it's been a long time coming. Today's topic is finally the one and only Gail Kim. We're super excited that we got the Gail Kim show put together. We're going to get there. But before we do,
wait, hold on. Are you serious? Today's topic's Gail?
Yeah. 37 pages worth.
I can assure you, I've read the notes a few times way back, but for whatever reason, I thought we had a TNA anniversary. I don't know, a sacrifice or something like that, but buckle up, as we say. So we're finally going to get to it. I think we've got a cool.
We promised it last week, if you remember. I mean, we were doing some live. We did a live last week, which was fun.
And we've promised it a few times, but I didn't know. Okay.
It's finally happening, by God, and we're excited that it is. It also happened that AEW came to Nashville last week. It was a very special Dynamite and Collision, a star-making night for Kyle Fletcher and certainly for Kevin Knight. I had a blast. It was my first time being at the Pinnacle, Jeff. What did you think of that venue?
You know, I've been asked about that. I hadn't been a lot of places, but yeah, I mean, I have been out kind of around town, and I went to the dry cleaners, odd enough, my old buddy in there. That's what he asked about, and I'll just share what I shared with him. When we've done some music halls, and I've been to, that may be the nicest, and I know it's new and it's brand new, but my gosh, you should have heard Cody describing it to the Queen about the sidebars and the nightclub feel. But man, it is a first class and then some facility. Very, very nice. And when you hear Eric Church did a TV special that's going to be coming out on, I don't know, one of the streamers, and Paul McCartney and all the A-listers. But I was super impressed. I'll just say that. Very, very impressed with the Nashville does it upright. And here's a little inside baseball. I don't know if you remember, but some of the TNA fans will remember of me walking. It was one of the original King of the Mountain, My World entrance videos, back in the early days. I was walking on some train tracks. You'd have to kind of see that. But anyway, that was filmed where the now Pinnacle stands. It's called Nashville Yards, but Conrad, Nashville has just exploded over the last 15 years. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. The growth and the high rises and something else. But what'd you think of the facility? You were in it.
I loved it. Thought it was a great building. Thought it was a great building to watch wrestling in. I thought everybody who bought a ticket to see AEW that night got more than their money's worth. What a fantastic venue. Not a bad seat in the house. It feels like you're right on top of them. I kind of liked it. I thought it was cool, and I hope it becomes a new pit stop for AEW. It was really fun to do it the day before Thanksgiving too, because something kind of special happened. You and I got to spend the day together, and well, for whatever reason, your beautiful son Cody has now become maybe a degenerate gambler. Let's just call it like it is.
You took him off the cliff, and you are solely responsible too, because you are the straw that stirs the drink. I know others are involved, but if anybody listen to this podcast absolutely knows how the Podfather kind of operates. He sometimes
What does that mean?
sometimes you operate in the dark. Sometimes it's out overt, this and that. But I think you have walked Cody down. I don't want to say irreversible because there's no such thing as irreversible road. But my gosh, he was laying bets left and right. Poor Jeff Jones, he demanded Venmo, and so. Oh, Conrad, we haven't seen each other. Hadn't really talked to each other. I got to catch up on a lot of things, but quite the busy weekend. Went down to Georgia yesterday, watched some basketball. But Conrad, if any game comes up now, I mean, rumor has it that Steve Buchanan now has Cody under contract for DraftKings because he's now just a professional. You know, he can pick them, and you took him. Yep, Conrad. I just say this. You may have a new nickname in this house. You may be called Gateway.
Well, in fairness, Jeff Jones is there. And of course, he can't help but defend his Baltimore Ravens. And I get that. And your boy Cody makes a bet and then turns to me and says, "Oh, yeah. And Auburn's going to beat Alabama."
Oh, Lord.
And I kept saying, "I don't know about that. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's going to happen." And what do you know? Eventually, he says, "Well, I'll bet $5 on it." And it's that little nothing happening son of a bitch Adam Priest who says, "I got 10 on Bama."
See?
I was not first. That was Jeff Jones. And I did not say, "Let me double the bet." I let Cody call it, and I agreed. And I just want to say, I have been checking my Venmo, and I've even pinged my accountant to make sure. We haven't gotten anything from Cody Angle since Saturday night when he clearly lost the bet. I haven't even received a text message, if I'm honest with you.
He may be waiting for the Jones funds to clear to just direct him towards you. I don't know. I mean, there was bets. He bet Michigan. Didn't do fair on that one. What else did he? Oh, he did have the Commodore, so I had to pay up on that, Conrad. We should have took a photo. I wish I'd have had. Karen's got this new thing that you set up, and it follows you in the room. It's a little video thing, follows it around, and Cody was making it follow him the other day. I wish we would have had it rolling. Connie, I had to pay up, and I was a man. I paid the Commodore ball game literally before. I think it had 3 minutes left in the game, 2 or 3 minutes. Man, what an ass toting they gave them volunteers in Nayland. Whoa.
Is that the first time it's happened like that?
I don't remember. I mean, there was all kind of first. First time they were both ranked, all kind of stuff. But man, it was I'll admit it. It was an ass whipping in the second half by the Commodores.
And by the way, whether it was Tyler Shoop or Brady Booker or Adam Priest or Conrad Thompson or Cody Angle, you looked at us all like we had flaming turds hanging out of our mouth.
I admit, and I paid up to Cody. I just in Knoxville. My gosh. So did you see Heupel? And I apologize to the listeners that are going, who gives a shit? I live in London. I'm in Birmingham. Down under. But this is kind of a Southern thing here in college football. Dadgum, they said Heupel's already interviewing. I have not.
Why wouldn't he be? He lost to Vandy. They're going to fire his ass eventually. You know that. You can't lose to Vandy at home.
I told you in our next live, Conrad, you're going to get a job in the SEC, and I'll take one maybe in the Big Ten, and we'll collude to throw games.
Make each other lose. Yeah.
And just sit at home.
I mean, listen, only in wrestling. Yeah. Like in wrestling, being an enhancement talent and having a losing record, that's sort of frowned upon. If you're a college football head coach, it's life goals. Life goals. Speaking of life goals, I got to ask.
Oh, no.
The entire sports world is talking about this, Jeff. And I know that we shouldn't be talking about college football. We only got a few more minutes of that, and then we're going to move on, I promise. The entire world's talking about Lane Kiffin.
Oh, boy.
And I want to know, as the finesser of all finessers, I mean, Luke Gallows has a Jeff Jarrett shrine to you in his basement. They all gather around and light candles. I mean, it's amazing. But I'm curious, when you see a guy go get the bag and you want to talk about killing a town, I mean, what is happening right now with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and LSU, and listen, it feels like the craziest long shot in the history of long shots. But don't you, with every fiber of your being, now that you know Tennessee has absolutely no shot at doing anything of any meaning in the postseason, don't you want Ole Miss to win it all without Lane Kiffin?
I just left the gym. My trainer, Corey, he was sitting there and, they're all this and that and this and that. And he's, and I literally, I was dialed into the workout, but I kind of kept quiet. And he said, well, Jeff, what do you think? I said, first off, everybody's bagging on Lane Kiffin. Tell me one thing he's doing illegal. The system, he is playing the system to a T, and there is not a critic out there. I mean, the numbers that you're hearing and throwing all the money and 90 million plus some and all, he's chess piecing. Truth be known, did I hold Vince McMahon up, Conrad? Absolutely not. He didn't have to pay me. He could have literally said, A, don't even come to the building. B, when you got to the building, he could have said in a grinning like a Cheshire cat, yeah, bud. Here's the check. I got it to you. Then press stop payment. There's so many things. No, it was a business deal. Every kid can leave. So what Lane is doing is just playing the system. But there's a few folks online, and I'll point out Clay Travis. He absolutely nailed it when he talked about he listed real good, but Calipari, Conrad, John Calipari, for folks don't know, one of the greatest college coaches of all time of basketball. And he gave the analogy, hey guys, if I get running in March Madness and I get down to the not Sweet 16, but the Final Four, and I have the ability to bolt and go get doubled my pay or whatever it may be, and the system allows it, he said, that's insane. He's all that. So that being said, the last thing I told Corey this morning, Conrad, I said, I don't really care about any. I mean, I'm going to watch them, but I am, God almighty, I'd give anything if those kids at Ole Miss would pull it off, because Lane's out. He didn't coach him. The new guy in, bless his heart, even if he coaches to him championship, it ain't his team. He's a D coordinator. He's going to have a part of it, but those kids are going to get all the glory. They are by far who I'm pulling for. Like, it's not even close, man. I mean, you talk about immediately becoming the underdog story of American sports. It's very cool. I hope it happens. I really hope it happens in a big way.
Prediction on Lane Kiffin in the next in the next 4 years. How many times do the LSU Tigers make the playoffs? Next 4 years. How many times do they make the playoffs?
0.
Oh, really? Can I give you my answer?
Yeah.
All of them.
You think he will?
Yep. He is going to turn it all the way to 11 and break the knob off, and they're going to change the rules because of him.
Wow. Okay. So we're on opposite. Okay. Is it true he's got your Alabama kid, Williams? Is that?
I wouldn't, but who wants him anyway? He forgot how to catch with his hands last season. He's caught every fucking pass this year with his chest. So he was one and done, one hit wonder. He's the MJF of Alabama. No, I don't mean that ugly. Everybody knows MJF was a top guy. Now he's not. He's doing something else. And that's what Ryan Williams is doing. He used to play football. Now he does commercials or something. I don't know.
Conrad, Mr. Silva, can we go to a one shot of Conrad? I'm just going to say two words. And Ryan Williams. Oh, that's the hot. That is a go F him. My goodness, that's a hot button. I love that.
I'm just saying, like, he's mid, like. Well, no, I'm being honest. Everybody last year, it was like, he was in the prom in April. Look at him. He ain't even 18. And now it's like, well, he's got $100 million. Well, I forgot how my hands work. I don't know what to do with them. Just hit me in the numbers. Oh, it bounced off.
Miss Deborah, can you get Larry on the phone? Hey.
He's madder about it than I am. Let me tell you now. He's madder about it than I am. One thing I'll tell you that you and I are never mad about, though, and that's our friends at Tushy. Listen, real deal. We all know that Lane's an a-hole, but he's a clean one, because I guarantee you with $100 million, he can swing a Tushy on every toilet, and you can too, but you don't need $100 million. It feels like you would, because it feels like elegance. It feels like luxury. You feel like you're a head coach who just got fired. But in reality, this is everyday luxury. It's affordable and it instantly transforms your bathroom habits and your bottom health for life. If you've got somebody in your life who is hard to buy for, let me tell you something that they need that they don't even know they need. I'm talking about Tushy. This is a perfect gift if you're shopping for a bro or a daddy or a CEO or an activist or someone who lights their farts on fire. This is the gift that refuses to pick a lane. It's luxurious, it's practical, it's techy, it's easy to use. And by the way, I want to mention it's got all the luxury you ever need. Here's what I mean. You got front and rear nozzles so you can clean your front business and your back business. It's got a soft close lid so it's slam proof. And how about this? You don't even need additional plumbing for this. It attaches to your existing toilet. Anybody can do it. It takes like 10 minutes to get started and finished. But maybe best of all, and this is real, I can't believe this is the case because we've overthought all this. Let's just be honest. Toilet paper does an inferior job. It's going to clog your toilets. It doesn't really work. When you go dusting or washing your car, you don't take a dry paper towel after it. You got to have water. Well, ta-da. That's what Tushy uses. That's all it takes. It gets rid of 99% of the bacteria. And what do you use? One natural ingredient, fresh water. Bam, you're done. Here's how easy it is. You sit down, you cleanse, and then you dry off using the built-in dryer. That's right. A dryer. Your hands free in the bathroom. Every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and a 12-month warranty. Remember, a-hole is only a naughty word if you wipe. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the code MyWorld at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com, and the promo code is MyWorld. Jeff, I think that might be the ultimate gift. Like, I know you've got one. I've got them here. I've even got them at the office. But it's been so popular. I don't know that we've told this story in a while, but years ago when we were planning StarCast in Las Vegas, that's 2019, Mike Dawkins is at my house for the first time. He uses the washlet. We're talking about a Tushy. It just attaches to your existing toilet. But his only previous experience is whenever he traveled to Europe and he saw a what's it called? A bidet. So it's like a separate bowl next to the toilet. So that's what he was expecting. But when he sat down on my toilet, he was like, oh. So he went home, he installed it in his personal bathroom, absolutely loved it. The kids loved it too. More importantly, and I'm not making this up, the kids said, Dad, can we get one of those in our bathroom for Christmas? I'm talking about Xbox games moved down the list and Tushy moved up the list. Like, this will forever change your life, Jeff. Wouldn't you agree? Like, I have to admit, this past weekend, I had a blast at WrestleCade. We'll talk about that another time. But I wound up staying at a hotel, of course, because hell, I don't know anybody in Winston-Salem. Well, there's no Tushies in the hotels. And you just feel like, oh, this is gross. This is old school. This is barbaric. Like, Tushies changed my life, dude.
You know, I was sitting here and I'm not good at this, but has there ever been like a food that you absolutely will not try at all because, oh, that's just not for me. I just don't think I like it. I'm not going to try it. But once you try it, you go, oh my God, this may be the greatest thing I've ever put in my mouth or I've ever eaten. That's kind of Tushy, Connie, that you like, I'm not, oh, wait a minute.
There you go, Jeff. You just nailed it. That's how we sell Tushy. It's the greatest thing you ever put in your mouth. HelloTushy.com/MyWorld. If you're putting anything down there in any mouths, Tushy can help you out. HelloTushy.com/MyWorld. Hey, Jeff, we had a blast in Nashville. I've had a blast talking about Lane Kiffin, and man, our aspirations of getting fired, becoming fired head coaches are just wonderful. But everybody's got a dream. Everybody's got a dream. And I know last week, between a fabulous live edition of Thanksgiving Eve Dynamite and a Christmas or Thanksgiving night collision taping,
unbelievable shows. Seriously, unbelievable action.
Some real magic happened between the shows.
Yes,
that the world has not seen.
On my bucket list.
Shout out to Jeff Jones. Shout out to AEW. Greatly appreciate them allowing a feed of this to exist. And we are really excited to bring this to you. I know that this is going to get clipped up and posted everywhere. So I hope to God that there is at least a My World bug in the corner, because there will be in post, by God. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you this.
Oh boy.
With no comment.
Well, come on. Tuck your chin, tuck your chin. You might want to turn around. He didn't.
Strut.
Go ahead.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Folks, it was like out of a movie. I mean, you want to talk about real bucket list items for Jeff and myself. I couldn't believe it was real. You've got a former WCW heavyweight champion on the stage giving a special guitar necklace to Smart Mark Sterling, and sitting front row is another member of the WCW alumni, former WCW World Heavyweight Champion David Arquette, sitting ringside front row as this happens. And then, thanks to a little bit of peer pressure from Jay Lethal and a whole lot from Nashville, Tony Khan struts with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. How amazing was this?
It was, all kidding aside, it was great. Tony he's a good, I mean, he's a great sport. It's that simple. It put a smile on my face. And I said a little clip earlier as I started that promo, and it meant a lot to me. Look, my grandmother, literally about 5 blocks from that building is where her professional wrestling career started. You know, obviously my dad wrestled and promoted, and now Tony's coming into town on a Thanksgiving Eve. We used to run Nashville on Thursday nights, and when we used to run on Thanksgiving night, I've eaten many a turkey at noon and gone down and wrestled. So for Tony to be up there around the Thanksgiving holiday and a guitar shot and Tony strutting and being a good sport about it, he did a hell of a job too. That was all spontaneous. None of that. Hats off to Jay Lethal. He saw the opportunity, the opportunistic man that he is. It was a lot of fun, though. That was a lot of fun. Cody, he absolutely talked about it all the way home and the next day. Hey, Dad, tell the sisters and the boyfriends, and I got to share it with my stepmom, and it was good. It was a lot of fun. So hats off to Tony for doing it. And I'll say this, Tony's strut started on Wednesday night, and his butt probably strutted out of Nashville Sunday because the Jags beat the shit out of the Titans. So congrats to the Jags, but more importantly, congrats to Tony Khan in the strutting.
It was fantastic, dude. Seeing you guys strut, I don't know what I expected, but boy, it was awesome. I loved it.
It was a lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun. And yeah, Arquette, I didn't even tie that together because I knew, and we're going to give him a shout out and all that, but you tied it together even better right then. So good old Dave, a Nashvilleian. You know, Mr. Arquette lives now in Nashville, in the Middle Tennessee area. So we need to go see him, Conrad, me and you.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, let's make that happen. I do want to ask you about some other stuff. I promise we are going to get to Gail Kim. That is going to be.
I feel the running rib again.
No, it's not happening. But, we had to talk about football. We had to talk about you strutting with Tony Khan. Those are big things. Over the weekend, I think the wrestling world was treated to what Triple H referred to as the biggest Survivor Series in history.
Wow.
He actually took to social media to post about that. I guess there's, I don't know the exact number, but like 46,000 and change people who were there. And, of course, this was featured on Netflix and the ESPN app. So a lot of people had an opportunity to see this. WWE is calling it the biggest Survivor Series of all time. And I want to talk to you about that in a moment. But first, I want to ask, did you have a chance to catch any of the Dominic Mysterio, John Cena, Liv Morgan business?
Look, Cody gave me the complete update. And thank God that he did. But and I told him, I said, hey man, send me anything. So if you're going to ask me about stuff, I've seen it in clips. I know she returned. You know, Dom went over. It's got to be, just think about that kid. Grew up in San Diego. I'm sure he's been, maybe not to that specific stadium, but been around the Padres and, you know, Ray essentially, you know, uprooting his, you know, or starting, you know, uprooted his family, brought him, you know, Ray's a Mexico City kid, but he settled in San Diego. And so for Dom to beat John Cena in San Diego at Survivor Series, his next to last match in his career, it's
Special.
it is. And they are, you talk about really a concentrated effort to build with concrete, with rocks. They are building a foundation of Dom that is, and I'm sure this is why they're doing it. Their hope is that it will last 20 years, you know, building a real strong foundation that's special, man. You know, just everything. I'm stating all the obvious, but Cena, a pro's pro, but man, oh man, big deal, a huge deal.
It feels like there's been a lot of criticism recently. We even saw Brian Alvarez rattling off that AEW and WWE have what he perceived to be an age problem, that all the top performers, the guys in the main events, are high 30s, 40s, 50s, wherever they are. Alvarez was sort of challenging people to say, hey, throw it on somebody, you know, under 30 or under 25 or whatever it is. And it feels like WWE, between Stephanie McCool and Dominic Mysterio and Braun Breaker getting a pin over CM Punk, it feels like they're trying to lean into the youth movement. And we've seen Triple H do appearances and, you know, talk about how, you know, people are talking about the ages of where we are right now, but he's really excited about where we're going. I know JR would always say things like, hey, people are all, wrestling fans want new, they crave new. Do you think there's an age problem in wrestling? Do you think that, you know, when you were running TNA and you were sort of making all of those decisions, were you always looking to someone X number of years or younger, or is it less about that and it's more about X number of years on TV? Like, it doesn't matter if the guy's 25. What matters is, has the audience, has a national audience seen him? Like, what was your methodology? Or if you want to lean into it, what was your dad's methodology in regards to age?
Well, I'll kind of get, that's my jumping off point. It always takes me back to, there was a promoter, Leroy McGurk. People may know Mike McGurk, the blonde haired ring announcer for the WWF for years, but Leo was blind. And my father, you know, used to often come up with different stories that he knew, witnessed firsthand, in that, you know, a blind man doesn't look at age, they just listen. And so I have, that's what I was taught. That is something that at the end of the day, this is a generational topic of discussion now in the heater and the microcosm of social media. It ebbs and flows, but it feels at times a lot hotter than it is. Absolutely at the end of the day, I think it's a balance. And look, you know, me and you are wrestling junkies. And what was it? It was Cody and Punk, and the different champions were all at a certain age and this and that, but it can change overnight. But I always go back to, it's situational. It is, had a discussion. Conrad had a Zoom call Friday with the gentleman in Switzerland. And we got into that discussion. And I said, there is a reason that wrestling in essence is such a unique, it goes back to the same conversation I have had a billion times. We're obviously not true sport. We are entertainment, but it's kind of a niche in that you have to understand the feedback that you're hearing. And the more tuned you are with your ear on what you're hearing, some people can hear a yay and a boo. And quite frankly, sometimes there's a lot in the middle of all that. So I always go by my ear, and how segments connect, how the outcome of them are. But I just think the simple term is a balance, because I do think there is comfort sometimes going with, I'll call it the veterans. But there's a reason they're the veterans, is because they've had success after success after success after success. And sometimes too much too soon. And me and you, Conrad, I don't know who comes to your mind. And I could probably, if I sat here for just a couple of minutes, say, if you give a young talent too much too soon, it is, I don't say impossible, but it is so hard to unwind that. If you give them a championship or a main event spot or something that we're not ready, because then people see them fall flat on their face on a national. I mean, truly, that's why, there was wisdom in my old man saying, nope, you're not going to WCW when I was 3 or 4 years into the business. You need more seasoning. I think there's a whole lot to that, because when I got my shot at WWF, I was a much more seasoned, confident performer, although I thought I was confident 3 or 4 years before that. So too much too soon can kill a talent. And I think at the end of the day, that is something that the people that sit in those seats have to be very, very aware of.
I don't want to name any names, and I know you don't want to name any names. I'm not going to ask you to name any names. However, as you're running through that, do you think of the same person I did in WWE?
In WWE, I'll tell you who I think had a ton of natural charisma, but too much too soon. Eric Watts. I think it's a damn shame how his wrestling career got off the ground. He was never able, I think, to catch up from that. He's a really talented guy. WWE, too much too soon.
There's nobody doing it right now, you don't think? I'm not asking you to say a name, because I don't want to dump on somebody who's doing it right now, because I don't want to be a negative influence on someone's career. But as you're saying that, it's like, oh, one name comes to mind.
We side text about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely destroying. There will come a time. What is that? Point of no return. It's unfortunate.
So listen, here's what I wanted to get to. I guess I hadn't really thought about this until over the weekend, but somebody at WrestleCade pointed out to me, it may have been JBL.
How are old Tracy and good old Brian Hawks?
I didn't get to see Tracy. Brian Hawks is fantastic. They continue to do a fantastic job. If you've never been to Winston-Salem the day after Thanksgiving, you owe it to yourself to go. It's become a wrestling institution.
It is.
There's so many people who have set their watches to it. Just it becomes a little family reunion. I'm a big fan of what they do there.
Congrats to those guys. I just wanted to. WrestleCade is a wrestling convention. Comic-Con meets professional wrestling. They have, what was it, Fourth Rope on Friday this year, and then the Super Show on Saturday, and they've got
and then AML on Sunday. I mean, there was a who's who. They had everybody that if you were in professional wrestling at any point in your life, you had a table at WrestleCade.
I love it.
But somebody pointed out, we've seen John Cena win his last match. I thought that was interesting. Super Cena, the guy who never lost, the guy who's undefeated in I Quit matches, the only guy in history to have 5 consecutive WrestleMania title matches, the guy who's won the world title more than anybody in WWE history, the guy who has more wins than anybody in WWE history, the guy who, I mean, he's set so many records.
He's got more wins than Hulk.
Yeah, I'm positive of that.
Wow.
Okay. I'm just saying, it's interesting to me to think we've seen it happen for the last time, Jeff. I don't know that we knew at the time that 6-man tag in Madison Square Garden was going to be it, but that was it. We won't see him win again.
What, he won't win his last match?
Nah, you don't think so, do you?
Well, as we're sitting here saying that, I don't think they've done anything by the books. I don't know. I don't know.
Real quick, let me ask you. His last match is coming up. It's not this weekend. It's next weekend. Is Vince there? Is Trump there? It's in DC. Everybody's talking about it. Not only the last match, Saturday night's main event, John Cena, last time we'll see him. Last time is now. But will Vince McMahon be in attendance? Will the president of the United States be in attendance? What do you think?
Yes. I'll answer one at a time.
Okay, wait. So you're going to say Vince is there?
Hold on. I'm going to answer one at a time.
Okay.
Donald Trump, when you look at maybe his business history, WrestleMania 4 and 5. This is a guy that was dialed in to professional wrestling. He never shied away from it as a businessman. I don't want to say he got it, but he did get it. I mean, and then the hair versus hair match. And you see him now, and that's why I want to stay away from politics, but the UFC presence he's had and at sporting events and,
He's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Is it? Yeah. I just like,
it's the same company that owns the UFC. Well, it feels like it's in DC.
So what I was going to say is, without all of the other things I just kind of referenced, I would have said, let's just say hypothetically, Boston, Chicago, the Garden, Los Angeles. I still would have said, yeah, there's probably a good chance that the president's going to be there. Since it's in DC and they check schedules and whatever Donald has going on and Secret Service, because John Cena, unless I'm missing something, he has zero attachment to DC other than TKO is probably getting a huge check, but I don't think that's it. I think at the very top of the reason they're in DC is because Trump can be there. I think so. Yes, on Trump. On Vince.
Here's the question. Let me ask this or you answer. We've established you think Trump's going to be there. I do too. If Vince is there, is he going to get the TKO comp ticket to the front row like Stephanie McMahon, or will they treat him like a goof and make him buy a ticket and sit last row on the floor like they did Shane McMahon in Madison Square Garden? What do you think?
I think, and I've said this a few times on the pod, I say it often when I have different conversations. And there's actually a scripture. I didn't realize I just heard this recently, but I don't believe there are coincidences in life, only convergences. When you really know the history of the McMahon family in promoting, it all started in Washington, D.C. That's where Capital Sports, that's where the office was, all this kind of stuff. And you kind of look at the life cycle of the generations of McMahon and the just everything that goes in it. I think that there's kind of some convergence, if you will.
By the way, as you're getting ready to answer, remind everybody the name of Vince McMahon's new company.
10th and
14th and I.
14th and I.
Cross Streets in Washington, D.C., where Capital Sports or Capital Wrestling Corporation first started.
Right now, he didn't just pull that out of the hat when he started things. But anyway, 14th and I, his father and Vince and Hogan hatched themselves together years ago, and he went through Hogan and you name it, whoever the champions were. But when you really sit back and look at the two flag bearers of the brand he built, it is 1A and 1B, Hogan and Cena. So I just think Vince will be there. And I think John has been such a company man that there is, well, here I go. But man, I just don't think there's any chance in hell that Cena he is going to ask or demand, or they're not even going to go down that road. Vince will be involved to the degree that Cena wants him involved. I think that's what you're going to see. It is the, it's the swan song in a lot of ways. It could be really good for the both of them. So yeah, yes to both of them, Connie. I I just think how it's all kind of come together. And look, why wouldn't Vince and John go out? That's why I'm saying I don't know who the opponent's going to be, because you probably going to have more insight on than I do. But, does John really not get his hand raised on his last match? He put Dom over the last, this weekend. I don't know.
Well, let me tell you what we will definitely not be hearing next weekend.
Okay.
No chance. That's what you got.
Absolutely no way we hear that. No chance.
You don't think you'll see Vince?
I don't think he'll be on camera if he's there.
Okay.
Much less, I don't think he'll be acknowledged, much less getting some big entrance. But I got to think he's going to be there. But
Okay.
it is a question of,
well,
that's WWE. Do you even let him come backstage?
Well, so that's why I put the caveat that I think that Cena is going to defer to Vince on what actually, like, I'm not saying he's going to come out music and entrance, pomp and circumstances. It's what John wants. And I think what John's want is, what's the best way to go about this? And it may be a handshake. I don't know, but I do think it's in John's lap. And look, Conrad, and I know we'll probably cover this a lot in 2026. John has made a lot of money for this company.
Wait, hang on. Are you suggesting that John is going to get on the phone with Ari or Shapiro or Nick or whatever and say, I want Vince there? And they're going to say, okay, cool. I just don't see that happening.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I think he'll be there, but I just don't think. I think people will be up in arms if they let him come backstage. And I can't imagine him like walking through the crowd at a WWE show. The whole thing feels weird to me.
Okay. It's going to be interesting. It's going to
Can you imagine just buying a ticket to the show and you sit down and a couple minutes before the main event, Vince McMahon sits down next to you in the motherfucking crowd, son?
So he could be in a suite. He could be in a suite.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, like, he's going to stand in line to get a popcorn.
No.
Like, what are we doing? What?
Pal, I don't eat popcorn.
No shit. Yeah, no shit. I tell you what, if Vince McMahon were here on the podcast with us today, he'd love this new sponsor. I got to tell you, Mars Men Testosterone Replacement Therapy, TRT. Are you familiar with that? If you're a fellow over the age of 40, you might ought to be. I don't know if you've ever looked into this, but a lot of us, when we start to hit our mid 30s, maybe 34, 35, all of a sudden things start to feel, harder. Maybe your diet hasn't changed, but you feel like there's an energy crash somewhere in the early afternoon. Well, that's not supposed to happen at 34. What it means is you need to look into getting your testosterone up. And if you're not careful, you'll get down a rabbit hole. What I want you to know is Mars Men is the real deal. It's way better than TRT. Mars Men gives you the same benefits of optimized testosterone, the energy, the strength, the focus, but without ever shutting your body down. Go ahead and get on Google MMA, Google guys like Chael Sonnen, friend of the show. And they're going to tell you what their experience was like with TRT. Their bodies just became reliant on it. And man, in the end, it did more damage than good. And that's why we love Mars Men. There's no synthetics here. There's no needles. There's no dependency, but it feels like you're hitting the reset button on your hormone factory instead of shutting it down like TRT does. Instead, you're just going to use natural ingredients that support healthy T levels, stamina, and your recovery. It's going to give you those benefits you're looking for, and you get to avoid all that scary long-term stuff. I'm a big believer in Mars Men. I know Jeff is too. You're going to feel like you have more consistent energy. You're going to feel stronger when you're lifting at the gym. You're going to have better focus at work. If you've really been trying to stay sharp longer at work and you just feel more lethargic than you used to, buddy, Mars Men is for you. It's made in the USA. It's third-party tested. They've even got a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Worst case, you don't absolutely love it, you get your money back, and over 91% of users report higher energy levels. Thousands of guys are feeling incredible results. Just check it out. All the reviews over on their website and see for yourself. Go right now. For a limited time, our listeners can get 60% off for life and 3 free gifts when you use the code MyWorld at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com. Use the code MyWorld at checkout. And after you purchase, they're going to ask you how you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hey, Jeff, we talked a little bit about Survivor Series. I do want to ask you about this, and I promise we're getting to Gail Kim.
Liar.
No, we're going there right away.
I'm kidding.
The overwhelming sentiment from WWE, record here, record there, record everywhere. Black Friday's a record. I'm sure as we're recording today, Cyber Monday's a record. Biggest Survivor Series in history, biggest WrestleMania in history. We're going to beat it this year, blah, blah, blah.
Fugazi.
It feels like everywhere you go, it's new record, new record, new record, new record. However, when I look online, what I see, a lot of negativity from the hardcore fan base. They don't like the creative. They're not happy with the way things are going. Like WWE celebrating Survivor Series like it's, one of the biggest and best shows of all time because they had a big crowd and they had a lot of people watch. But the base, the hardcores, somebody might call them the sickos. They say, not very good. And I'm seeing a lot of that, Jeff. I know for a fact, Jeff, I mean, like when I was at WrestleCade, it came up everywhere I went.
Okay.
Where people are, you and I used to talk about this a lot on the program, what I would call consumer confidence.
Okay.
And I feel like some of the consumer confidence in WWE is shaking. And I think my question is, when does that, as you might say, when do they tip the canoe? Are they at a tipping point now? Have we already passed it? Because there's a long tail on things. Like we all understand WrestleMania tickets are going to sell at a huge rate. I don't know that they'll sell out, but I'm saying they will generate millions of dollars in ticket sales before we know one thing happening on the show. But I feel like, coming out of this War Games, I thought people would be on fire for this War Games. You take a look at who's in this War Games. It's a freaking who's who of Hall of Famers. But people are caught up on, but I just don't get why the heels are together. I just don't. So they're upset with the storyline is where I'm getting to, Jeff.
Okay.
And I feel like there's some storyline frustration. And then you couple that with ticket prices. And I know that if you're running a business, then you have to look at, well, hey, we're up year over year. And hey, well, this compared to every other show in history, this is way better. We must be doing something right. It's easy to follow that because, I know the old cliche that numbers don't lie, but I do feel like there is a base where it's like when you lose them, you lose them. And we've seen this before, right before the downturns. When there was frustration in WCW, here comes the downturn. When there was frustration in WWE, here comes the downturn. And we have just been up so many years in a row. I'm wondering, is it inevitable? Are we about to hit? Has it already begun? Because what's interesting from an economic perspective, Jeff, is most people don't ever call it a recession until you're through it. They look back and they say, oh, we were in a recession from here to here. Very rare to somebody say, well, today is day 2 of the recession. That's just not the way it works. Is that the way it's going to work in wrestling here, where all of a sudden there's just going to be like, oh, somebody turned the water off and everything's different? What's your experience tell you?
Well, full disclosure, I strutted with Tony Khan last Wednesday, and then I Thanksgiving, I disconnected quite a bit, family, and then I did a lot of baseball stuff, Conrad, actually Friday and Saturday, and some, and other stuff, and so I cannot specifically comment on Survivor Series and what but you were around the chatter this weekend, and I don't think the chatter started this weekend because I have followed it enough to know that. And I was about to go there just a few minutes ago, in that what I'm already thinking of, I got to think as a feel good moment that you're going to have Cena, the payoff of the payoff of the payoff. This is his career. Let him go out, but I don't know. Is Gunther going to beat him? Which will be anyway. Cena has made them a fortune this year, and I would argue to say that although people want to point fingers and all that, Conrad, I feel that he has been the A storyline all year, somewhere around it, been the A storyline. And so I feel like the Survivor Series, Brock and Roman and Punk and Cody, all four of those guys were in that match, right?
Yeah.
By design, and I know Cena worked with Dom and, probably on early, whatever it may be. They were still in a semi-main event slot. I know it was War Games, and I know you can paint a brush with it. Oh, no, Jeff, that's me. The interest in the product all year long has essentially been in the flag bearer that they carried the company for the last 20 years. And so I kind of feel that there is just where are we going to go from here? Because after Cena, who's the number 2 babyface, Conrad? And
Cody.
Is he not Punk?
I would say Cody.
But the fact that we're kind of having the discussion is my point. I agree. It is Cody and Punk too. But okay, then on the other side, you got Brock and Roman. Is Roman number 1? I think there's a confusion on, all those years. It was Hulkamania and then Stone Cold and then Cena leading the charge. I think there is a interesting, I can't say confusion, but I think there is a little bit of lost in direction on who's 1, who's 2, who's 1 in the tag, who's 2 in the tag, who's the top female, who's number 2, who's our heel, just as far as the product, because I think that's why it's not easy. But if you're saying there's kind of an overwhelming vibe, if you will, of discontent, is it a microcosm of the vocal minority? I don't know, but the raising and most in history this, most in history that, we are well aware, and we've covered it over and over and over on the pod. I had a buddy in LA called me and says, man, you and Conrad's talk on that. I never really, really dialed in that way. I'm like, hey man, Ari's, he only has Wall Street to answer to. He don't give a shit about nothing else. So raise the ticket prices and do what needs to be done this quarter. Next quarter and the next. I got to get this quarter in. So I don't really think that's how the traditional wrestling business, maybe times have changed. We'll see. But I believe the Cena year is coming to an end. Boy, oh boy. I can't wait to see what the results are as it rolls into WrestleMania. Because if they're chirping now, then all of a sudden you're going to have the last 40 years of WrestleManias as comps, and this build and that build. I don't know what they have up their sleeve. I'm sure Logan Paul is going to be right in the middle of it. Anyway, it's interesting times ahead. I don't know that I really clearly answered anything, Conrad, but it is.
You didn't. Let me help. I want to tag in here.
Okay, tag in.
WCW could do no wrong once upon a time. We agree?
Oh,
they're beating WWE. They're rolling. And I think, if anything, and I think even Eric would agree with this, they got too comfortable. They got too cocky. They took it for granted. They got too arrogant. As we say in the South, they got too big for their britches.
No doubt.
And before you know it, it's like people started caring less and less. And it wasn't all of a sudden. But I'm saying, really and truly, fundamentally, yes, WWE is setting records, but are they growing their audience, or are they charging that same audience more money?
Charge that off. We know the answer to that.
We know the answer, but so that's what I'm saying is, it's like, there's an old adage in business that if you're not growing, you're dying. And I'm not here to say that WWE is dying, but I am saying, have we hit the consumer confidence iceberg where it's like, hey, we got to start pivoting kind of quickly. Cause I agree with you. We've talked about this off air. I think WWE's numbers this year have been artificially inflated by the Cena lift. And there's going to be a hangover when he leaves. And next year's WrestleMania will be a test. But even over the weekend, I guess they saw that somebody had an apartment nearby as they were setting up at Petco Field and they were sort of live streaming construction. So some of the engineers had fun and they played the Stone Cold Steve Austin, video wall and lights and music and screen. And now the internet was half watching the show, hoping that Steve Austin showed up. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure the powers that be thought, LOL, we got those dumb fucking marks. Okay, I got you. I'm glad that's fun for you. But I'm saying, aren't you at the same time setting you have mismanaged expectations. So now it don't matter what happens in the main event. Everybody's looking for Stone Cold. And I don't know that would have even been there had you not just teased this to have fun with a live streamer next door. Maybe the thought was, well, we'll get a rumor going that Stone Cold's here and then that'll take over. I heard that everywhere this weekend. Stone Cold's at Survivor Series. Stone Cold, he must be working Punk at WrestleMania. I heard it 1,000 times. Now, I don't know if it's happening or not, but I'm saying now, if we're frustrated with creative and we think, but hang on, in the main event, don't turn it off, because remember 2 years ago they acted like they were going off and Punk came back and they showed the Stone Cold stuff, and it's like, oh man, eventually people are going to be like, I don't care as much. I can feel that. It feels like just like before the WCW collapsed to me.
Two things. And I get it. We're in a different era. That's why I always try to really process things and think through it because look, and I've always said this, we're not in that room, in the creative room, and understand there's so many things that we are not aware of. So I get that. But I also feel like old sayings don't get to be old sayings unless they're true. And I felt like because Cody said they put Jinder Mahal, Austin, and somebody else's video walls up. And I'm like, okay, all this, but it just felt right out of the gut. Punching down. Just what are we doing here, guys? Punching down. Why are we trying to create that? But you hear them say at the same time in the mouth, we don't give a shit what happens online. We don't do this. Well, I know for a fact, and you do too, what they do and don't look at. But that's a whole nother topic of discussion. What I was going to say to you, Conrad, is this, in that you said Cena's numbers artificially inflated this year. And I think you're just, let me ask you, I think you're kind of using those words. What I think is it's not artificial. It's real cash. I mean, without question, it is a
no. That's not what I mean. I'm not saying it's fake dollars. I'm saying it's created a false confidence within WWE.
No, I think we're capturing it. It's like, I'll say this. I always can kind of drill it back to Memphis. Lawler Dundee hair match. Oh shit. Gonna draw big money. Seizing the moment. Okay. Now we've shaved Bill's head. What the hell are we going to do? We got the wife. Put Beverly's hair up. So it was not artificially, but we had an opportunity. I think they've seized this entire year the opportunity to raise prices because Cena this and Cena that. And if you really understand the business, back to the 2 times a year in the territory days, in May, oh gosh, here's what we're going to do is we're going to do a big world title match. I'm going to raise prices. Then the following week, I'm going to do kids free under 12 to get folks in there and this and that, all this kind of stuff, just kind of trying to balance things out. I'm wondering how much Ari is aware that they are ringing the register because of Cena. And it's not necessarily they're making all the right chess piece moves. And next year, are they prepared maybe for a market correction and how that's going to respond? I don't know.
Or do they keep it going? I mean, listen, let's be honest.
That's right.
Let's go to August 1st, 2022. You and I got 1,000 text messages that said basically the same thing. Something along the lines of, whose last match are y'all doing next? And I think that nostalgia is something everybody in pro wrestling knows is consistent.
Oh boy.
And it's going to sell. So maybe this leads to a series of farewells next year. Respectfully, there's not a name out there we can put behind glass and break in case of emergency and say, we'll just give them the Cena treatment. There was only one John Cena. But maybe there's 2 or perhaps 3 guys who might like to wind it down from, say, this Royal Rumble to next year's WrestleMania.
I agree.
And you could keep that going. And I think that could be, maybe nobody can equal the interest and the merch sales of Cena, but maybe a combination of 2 or 3 could.
I agree. And which would be fun.
And by the way, it still checks that box. You got your current stuff and you got your nostalgia. I just think it's interesting because I do feel like, if you've got the hardest to hardcore saying, I don't watch anymore, or I don't know, I've been frustrated with creative since blank. It's
what are they frustrated about creative? Because that is something I was going to ask at the top.
John Cena's retirement tour has been a fuck up, and everyone knows it.
Okay.
Not one person says, man, I challenge you. If you exist, please tweet me at hey, it's Conrad. Man, this John Cena retirement tour has gone exactly the way I hoped it would. Said no one ever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I know it's hard, but I mean, it can be harder than ever thanks to our friends at Blue Chew. That's what Miss Karen was telling me. She said all of a sudden it's like Double J's the chosen one again. Stroke after stroke's what she's telling me. Blue Chew isn't just a tablet. It's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like somebody gave your downstairs a pep talk and a gym membership. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. Hey, serious business. This ain't a supplement here. This is more like an erection resurrection. Guys, we're not just talking about your performance. We're talking about your legacy or your third legacy. Hey, Siri, shut up. I'm trying to talk about Blue Chew and how everybody can get their ding dong real hard. And you're interrupting me. All right. Now you keep doing that. I'm going to have to slap you around with my meat sickle. Okay. Calm down back there. Hey, let's give her group chat something to talk about. You hear Siri over here talking shit. Well, she knows what's about to happen to her. I'm going to take her to the woodshed. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Discover your options right now at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use the promo code MyWorld at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to bluechew.com for details and important safety information. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Is that the best fucking Blue Chew read in the history of Blue Chew reads?
Siri, pipe down. Well, y'all just had a little group going on over there. I didn't know y'all were swinging down in South Alabama. So
Silva, go to a one shot on me for a second. Hidden behind the big gold belt is a home pod. I guess I was enunciating loud enough this way that old Siri behind the big gold belt there thought maybe I needed to know how to get my ding dong real hard. But Jeff, everybody knows how to do that, don't they?
No, it did not. Was it?
I can tell you missed it, but I'm saying she's competing. I know every now and again you go take a slam or whatever it is you do during commercials, but yeah, Siri just started piping in, wanting to give me advice about my ding dong. And I got all the information I need on that, Jeff.
Dave Green, a lot of chatter going on today's episode of My World. Let's clip this up and send that to the folks at Blue Chew because I don't know, maybe they'll debate it or rebuttal or endorse it. Hell, I don't know. Only here on My World Pod. Jesus.
Well, I figure right now we ought to do something. Listen, I like to think of myself when it comes to wrestling podcasts. I'm a decent talker, but I can't say that I'm one of the greatest talkers of all time. And that's what we're doing for today's top 5 with Double J, Jeff Jarrett, who were Double J's top 5 all-time talkers. Hey, just in time for the holidays, what if you didn't have to worry about any of that credit card debt? If you're feeling stuck making the minimum payments and you don't want to have to put Christmas on a credit card, we can help at savewithconrad.com. We routinely help our listeners save hundreds of dollars a month. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time to count down the top 5. Brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Can't wait for us to break this down, John. You know, you had to think about a whole lot of folks when you're thinking about great promos. And I've heard people talk through the years about, hey, this guy had the gift of gab. And then I might hear other guys say, well, now this guy, he knew how to do a money promo. And I've heard Cornette tell a great story of him going on TBS, and he had lots of, if you were paying attention, he was wordsmithing several things that smart fans would get, that were cute, that were witty, that were insightful, that were funny, that were humorous. He's popping the boys. It's one of the damnedest, most entertaining promos you could ever see. But when he comes to the backstage area, according to Jim Cornette, and I'm probably butchering this story a little bit, Dusty was furious at him because he asked, where's the fucking money? And Cornette's like, what? Where's the money in that promo? Yes, it was entertaining. He made everybody laugh. Where's the money? And I thought that was such a, because we all sort of know Jim Cornette got to be one of the best promos of all time. But the idea that Dusty was able to boil it down to where's the money. Can you tell us the difference?
Oh, good Lord. This is subjective in so many ways. But I think, God, that I've never heard that, but I can relate to it because that's exactly what was ingrained in my head. Jerry Lawler, Jerry Jarrett, Jackie Fargo. Let me reverse that. Jackie Fargo is the first one who really, and this is at the direction, I'm sure, of my dad. Hey, go talk to him about this. My dad, Lawler, Austin, Idol. I'm trying to think of the different guys. And my dad would always nudge them because he wanted, I don't want to say it's the only thing that matters, but it mattered the most in that at the end of the day, I have been taught, and I have tried to pass this on, that you can say a lot of nothing. Mick Foley was great at this. I had such a hard time on these top five all-time talkers because there's an art to a babyface promo. There's an art to a heel promo. There's an art to a manager, whichever side. There is definitely an art. And I'm going to stress the word art because I think the very, very best are folks that are creative and they paint a picture with their words that is vivid enough that you can visualize it in your mind and that it engages you on a deep, whether you believe this or not, deep emotional level that you say, I'm going to buy this emotionally. And my buddy Conrad says, I will, what is it, Conrad? Irrationally.
People buy emotionally and justify logically.
Justify logically. I think at the very core of the money talking promo, that's it. Because you've got to paint that picture and it makes someone emotionally go, by God, I'm going down to the Coliseum or the Gardens to see that, or I'm going to buy this pay-per-view, or I'm going to watch next week, or I love this guy. Let me go online and research him some more. Whatever it is, it engages you on an emotional level. And that's, I did a article for the local paper in the Tennessee, and I said, wrestlers, that's what we do, not just week after week, but year after year after year after year. And Mike Organ's the reporter, and I said, Mike, at the end of the day, for better or worse, I've been in people in Nashville. He's a Tennessean reporter. I've kind of been in their homes for 40 years, whether they really know me or not. A lot of them think they feel like they know me because I've talked. They hadn't talked back to me. Maybe they have, screaming at a screen, but they've talked, they've heard me talk. And so it's that emotional connection. So this was so far, this is the toughest top five I've had to come up with because I could add, I don't know, there's so many different ones, but a lot of fun. But yeah, I think it's being able to paint pictures with your words that drill down to what's funny that, or ironic, or it's a convergence that you said, Dusty's the one who gave that speech.
Hey, has your article in the Tennessean come out yet?
No, they text and they were going to run it on Thanksgiving Day and they made the call. They're pushing it to next week. So
Okay, because I thought we were going to cover that, and then when I went to the Tennessean website, I didn't see it, so I wanted to make sure I hadn't missed it. But
They
we
take
will be covering it in the coming weeks. I can't wait for us to talk about that. But let's get back to the top 5 all-time talkers. Boy, coming in at number 5, I want to talk about a timely answer. The incredible John Cena. 1 match left. And boy, he knew a lot about a money promo. He's drawn a lot of money this year and gosh, for the last 20 years. Why is John Cena number 5 on your list, John?
and I'm going to kind of John. Conrad, diving into this top 5, I had a hard time talking about or differentiating. Do I go regional talkers? Because the regional talkers, because they had to appear in the same towns either weekly or monthly, the verbal skills were just much more relevant and topical and important. It to me, it kind of jumps off the page, but on a national and now a global scale, Cena has carried that banner for 20 something years. And at the end of the day, you can't wrestle. And he had all this, but a lightning rod. Are we cheering him or are we booing him? But what his calling card has always been is getting in the ring, grabbing a mic, telling a story, and convincing the world that everything that came out of his mouth was absolutely, he believed every word that he said. And when he closed his promos, you said, damn, love him or hate him, I want to go see this match. I told him one night in gorilla position after he got done with the promo, and I think I was coming in to produce the next segment, but we crossed paths. We were by ourselves, and I just stuck my hand out. And I said, man, you are the best of the best of the best. Very few peers. Not many folks can do that. And that was, he just kind of awed me that, and I even forget what night we are, but the people hung on every word, and he said it with conviction, and he emotionally, that's, when you drill it right down, that's why I still love wrestling today, because it can hit you in the feels like no other form of entertainment.
Let's talk about number 4 on Jeff Jarrett's list of the top 5 talkers of all time. Man, the immortal Hulk Hogan coming in here at number 4. He sold me on being a wrestling fan way back in 1988. And look at me now doing all these funky ass podcasts. Just can't get away from it. Thanks a lot, brother. Why is he number 4 on your list, Jeff?
As far as look, and we've touched on it here. Hogan never really gets much credit for the amount of what kind of good worker he was in Japan, and he came up the hard way. But there are, and everybody kind of remembers the Hogan Andre that was maybe not a 5-star match, but he had good matches with a lot of different opponents through the years. His AWA, but his calling card was always being able to talk them in the building. And he didn't have the creativity that some guys, but how can you not have a top 5 list at his results? And we're not getting into heel promos, but his NWA aura was certainly special. So the Hulkamania that ran wild year after year after year, at the end of the day, I go back to the focus groups at when we were at TNA and Spike TV, the focus groups, what the little monitor, the gimmick they had in their hands, what would register the most, it was always number 1, a good in-ring promo, kind of number 2 is the music and entrance. Number 3, what happens after the bell happens. And number 4 was, I think, backstage. And number 5, way down the list, is what happens in between bell to bell. That's what people like. What people like the most is the in-ring promo of talking directly to that camera. And Hogan could do it and did it over and over and over, and his results speak for himself.
I can't believe who's here at number 3. I'm serious. Number 3 on Jeff's list of the top 5 best talkers of all time. I thought he'd be number 1 for Jeff. He's Jerry the King Lawler. how's Lawler 3? I know why he's on the list. I guess we'll talk about why he's 3 later. Tell me why he makes your list though, because I'm sure a lot of our audience, they're only familiar with his commentary work in WWE. They didn't really get to see him on top of his game in Memphis.
I'll say this. What you know, the group text. I could have put Cena 1 for a lot of obvious reasons, in that to be a top baby face in this generation of social media and, from 05 to 25, like, who has really generated more money with their mouth? I don't care what machine's behind you. Cena can be up there. Hogan, oh my gosh, from 81, 82 till, I mean, shit, he's outselling beer on the premiere of Netflix. Like, his longevity, it certainly wasn't his wrestling. It was his mouth and his everything that goes with it. Listen up, brother. I mean, that's used over and over and over. So now we get to Lawler, and people are going, well, we got 2 more to go. Lawler, and I went back and I go, okay, he talked more people in a territory maybe than anybody in history. And we didn't, yes, we had Lexington was monthly and Jackson was monthly, but we had 4 weekly towns: Memphis, Louisville, Evansville, and Nashville. And Lawler was at the top all those years. As far as butts in seats, Shivani's title of his book, I don't think anybody has, I don't think Jerry really has a peer. And so his creativity, everybody knows that his true artist work, like being able to draw, is just unbelievable. Best I've ever seen. And his 20-year run as commentary with JR, I think, if not the best, it's certainly right up there ranks. But his territory promo days are super, super, super not good, but great. But Lawler is a talent. As good as his promo skills were, Conrad, and this is kind of how I kind of lean the other way. You take away, let's hypothetically say, move Lawler's promo skills from a 10 down to a 5. His in-ring psychology, being able to work, obviously his punches, but his mannerisms and his ring psychology are just unbelievable. His knack for creativity in the ring is right up there. So he does everything great, but talking is one of the things. So that's kind of a precursor to where I'm going with everything.
Coming up here in the number 2 position, I'll admit I'm kind of shocked by this one.
Okay.
The Rock makes your list. Talk to me. Why is The Rock number 2 here, Jeff?
Again, his in-ring work was okay. People's elbow, he knew how to connect. But again, Cena can talk. Hogan obviously can talk. Lawler's creative. But man, on a big platform, being able to carry an in-ring that is not a 3 to 5 to 7, just his ability to go out in the ring and do, I'll call it stand-up, improv, wrestling, old school promo, comedy, tug at your heartstrings, endearment, and then, as the dream says, money. He put it all in one. And I just think the business has never seen anybody like him. And I think his success in Hollywood is the proof that professional wrestler / sports entertainer, they've never made another Rock. And that may rub some people the wrong way, but there's only one Dwayne Johnson being able to command an audience with his vocal ability. So again, it was tough, not easy for me to figure out 1 through 5, but that, you take away Rock's verbal skills out of his repertoire. He's not the greatest wrestler. He's okay. His catchphrases and catch moves and signatures, people elbow, eyebrow, all that kind of stuff. It goes into a lot of it, but his ability to communicate just puts him on a complete, well, it's the reason he's the biggest box office attraction, because he can talk.
Coming in at number 1 on Double J's list of the absolute top 5 best talkers of all time, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. No surprise that he's going to be on your list. Why is he number 1, Jeff?
I look, and Cody may rub him the wrong way. Dusty, obviously overweight, not the best looking human being. All these kind of imperfections go into making the American Dream who he is, because his legacy still lives, obviously, through Cody. But his ability to tell a story and put butts in seats, it wasn't because of his good looks. It wasn't because of his wrestling ability. It wasn't because he was, I don't want to say super creative. I don't think any of he was, he had his pluses and minuses across the board, but his ability for people to go, son of a bitch, Dusty's going to kick their ass, or son of a gun. Man, I hope Dusty can just survive this and maybe get a win. You felt he made you feel. All those 5 guys make you feel, but did anybody make you feel more? And look, Hard Times is the simple one, but there's different promos. But Dusty could do a simple 2 or 3 minute interview. I mean, and I say a simple one, and hell, in a creative meeting or on those Wednesdays in the asylum. Come here, little man. Come here. And he's talking to my dad. And then he'd say, come here. Double J, come here. What if, and he'd go through whatever scenario. By the time you got talking to him, I would have to halfway through going, all right, I've got the show laid out. If I move this, this, and this, it can nuke everything. Dusty Bud, let's do it next week. You've about had me talked into this. And he is a hell of a communicator. So that's why I put him on.
I got to tell you, obviously it's your list. This is not a list that I expected you to have. Let's recap. Number 5, Jeff has John Cena. Number 4, Hulk Hogan. Number 3, Jerry Lawler. Number 2, The Rock. And number 1, Dusty Rhodes. I got to admit, I just thought somewhere on there you might slide Ric Flair.
Well, that's why when I got into this and said, there's no way I can, if I'm doing top 5, I think there's top 5 baby faces. I think there's top 5 heels. I think there's top 5 managers. I just think that you can't put them all in one category, because we use Rick right now. Rick was, he was a baby face from time to time, but
he did his best work as a heel. Everybody agrees.
Oh, I don't even think it compares. I don't think Rick made great babyface promos. That's why I didn't put him in this list. Heel, we'll save that to whenever you guys request that, because there's a different aura that comes out of it.
Well, we want to know from you guys, who are your top 5 best talkers? Let us know in the comments below. That's what we're looking for. We want to have a discussion. I kind of assumed, again, what do I know? Hey, maybe Paul Heyman would be on the list. Maybe Ric Flair would be on the list. Double J went with baby faces. Do you think that that's necessary? Who are your top 5? Let us know below. I feel like there's so many great talkers in the history of wrestling. You might need your working boots on if we're going to have that kind of discussion with, here's the best baby faces, here's the best heels. Hey, if working boots are something that that a guy in your life needs this time of year, look no further than Brunt. We all know that one guy who's hard to buy for. You ask him every year, hey, what does so-and-so want for Christmas? Honey, I got everything I need. Don't you get tired of that? If you know that guy and you know that he's a hardworking dude and he always puts his family first, here's what he'd really like. Somebody to put him first. And Brunt can help you do that. You're going to be amazed at how happy he is with a gift that you give him. He uses all the time. He doesn't just need socks or a tie or underwear. He needs something that's going to be comfortable and make his life easier and make his job easier and make his day go faster. Brunt checks all those boxes. If you got a hardworking man in your life, Brunt Boots and Apparel make great gifts to keep them comfortable all day long on the job. And right now, Brunt is dropping brand new limited edition styles all month long. These styles will sell out quickly, so be sure to check back all month and grab yourself a style or color that won't be around long. You know, choosing work boots used to mean you had to sacrifice comfort or durability. Here's how it goes. If they feel good, they don't last. And if they last, well, they wreck your feet. Well, Brunt knew that was a bunch of BS, so they built tough boots that feel right from day one. No break-in period, no sore feet, because the people out there doing the real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. The founder is a guy named Eric Gerard, and he grew up blue collar, and he started Brunt Workwear after his friends in the trades were telling them the big brands had stopped listening to guys like them. They hadn't changed in like 100 years. It sold out to all these stupid fashion brands. So what did Eric do? He started Brunt, and all of the products are named after guys he grew up with, real hardworking tradesmen. I got to tell you, obviously I work indoors, but we do have 5 acres on the lake now. And man, I got like a menagerie of animals back there, and I got to get out there and work in the yard and clean them up and put things back together again. And Lord knows I've loved my Brunt work boots doing that. But if you've got a guy in your life who's working for real every day on these tough jobs, I want you to know that Brunt is going to make his life easier. It's going to be comfortable. It's going to do a better job, and it's going to look nice too. But that's what we're looking for. Designs that are durable and reliable, that keep you protected and productive. I got to say, mine look kind of sharp too. With temperatures dropping and the holidays coming in, it's time to treat yourself or that hardworking man in your life to some real comfort. Skip all the forgettable throwaway gifts and get him something built to last. I'm talking, of course, about Brunt Workwear. Our listeners can get $10 off their entire order with the code MyWorld at checkout. That's bruntworkwear.com. Use the code MyWorld. Order today and let them know you heard about it here on the show. That's BRUNT workwear.com. BRUNT workwear.com. Bruntworkwear.com. Use the promo code MyWorld. So Jeff, we're finally here. Man, you want to talk about an innovator? We've spent a lot of time talking about timing on this podcast. I feel like Gail Kim is another one of those that was, man, if she would have come along 10 years later, that's when wrestling was ready to receive her. She is probably the best definition or example of a trailblazer in the women's division and evolution of what we enjoy today, at least in my opinion. But I say that as a fan. You were a promoter, a matchmaker, a wrestler himself. Am I off base? How do you perceive Gail and where she fits in wrestling history?
You just, you know what, trailblazer, you're putting words in my mouth, but in a good way. The one thing that it takes me back to, I had known of her and known, okay, she had, some WWE time, didn't work out. I didn't know all the ins and outs of that, but I remember the first time that, that she was coming to TNA, and I'm just like, okay, she's got natural charisma. And when I say natural charisma, it is, I could come up with however you want to say it, a Flair or AJ early. He was the boy next door, but his athletic ability, there was just something unique. Gail, same way. It was like, okay, she's got charisma. She's likable. She's got her athletic ability that really sets her apart. And it was, I knew back then what you just said. Not only do we not have a division, we don't have anybody on the other side of the ring that is in her league. It was such a different time, such a different set of circumstances. And I just knew that, okay, she will add something to impact, something to our show. We just got to figure this out. And again, I'm going to go back to her charisma. She has a natural on-screen charisma that, sure, you can put her in positions where she's a heel, but she's going to thrive in a babyface role. immediately when I met her and said, all right, how do we figure this out? And yeah, you just said, can you imagine if she came on the scene today? Man, instant star.
I can't help but think if she would have came along the scene in 2015, like when Becky and Soraya and
Yep.
Charlotte and Sasha and all of them come up.
That group. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, but again, we should talk about it. She signs with WWE. I guess we first see her in WWE in 2002. She wins the freaking belt in her debut, but it doesn't feel like they have much plans for women's wrestling, much less her. They don't really give her a character. I think, she's finished with WWE in November of 2004 when they were doing cost cutting measures. And so now she's free and clear in March of 05, but she doesn't actually sign with TNA until September of 05. I just don't think the WWE was interested in trying to, and I guess we should mention too, just here in America, the women's movement, like that I'm not even talking about wrestling. I just mean politically and other things. It didn't really happen until after this, to where there was a huge push in women's sports. And I do think that perhaps sometimes people forget the fact that Ronda Rousey enjoying so much success in UFC did start to make people think, oh, maybe we can position that differently. Because prior to Gail coming in WWE, it had mostly been things like, I mean this respectfully, bra and panty type matches, right?
It was Sable and Sunny. Sunny, Sunny first, then Sable. Those were, when you look back on, all right, who were the top female stars? You remember there was who was the real good Japanese female wrestler and Medusa that had that
Akira Hokuto.
So they had that, but what was her WWF name? But anyway, they kind of had that run, but they were the only two opponents. So that was over and done with. But, Sunny came along, then Sable came along. But then, like you said, kind of the bra and panty era, if you will. There was no wrestling.
Are you thinking Aja Kong or Bull Nakano? That's who you're talking about. Yeah. I was thinking WCW, but yeah, I mean, there had not been a lot of that. I mean, even when they tried to be serious with the women's division, I'm talking about with Vince in the 80s, it was short lived.
Yep.
And then they tried it again during the Medusa era, the Alundra Blaze era, and it was short lived. And so then they bring it back for some China stuff, and then they try the Sable experiment, and they just don't really fully commit to the bit. So respectfully, these women are put through a bunch of objectification. I'm not a guy who normally uses that word, but you go back and look at it and you're like, are they really putting girls on all fours and making them bark? Like, what are we doing?
Yes.
But times have changed, and I'm glad they have, but I'm saying I find it curious that she was so far ahead of the curve. Like it's hard for me to imagine you don't have a spot for a person like that, but they weren't ready for it. Here's my question. She's free and clear in March of 05. She doesn't sign with you guys until September of 05. Why not? Did you have the same situation? Like, hey, we don't know how to use her. We're trying to get our money together. We're not sure that we can afford her. We don't have the right division. We don't have the right staff to support her. We're not ready for her. Was that the TNA experience? Because it feels like in March of 05, Double J would have been like, hey, I got to get her now.
So this is something that, history, when I really drill back on it, but I go back to the different meetings and having to pitch the brand. Literally, how are you different from WWE? WWE's got all the shelf space, or WWE's doing all the pay-per-view buys, or how do you sell in the business world the TNA brand? And I knew from day one about the X division. They're not going to do this. They're either going to call it the cruiserweight, the light heavyweight. Vince is never going to give opportunities. He likes big guys, matter of fact, there were times that I thought he'll go back to the big guys because Brett and Shawn and that era, how's that really going to evolve? But I knew the X division, not about weight limits, about no limits, even though, my dad fought it, Russo fought it, Dutch fought it from time to time. I'm like, guys, it is a style of wrestling that is not going away. for multiple reasons. And so that kind of ebbed along. And I knew that, okay, how are we different? Well, we have in the early days 3 distinct divisions: heavyweight, tag, and X division. I knew that I wanted to add a 4th division and make it very clear we have a total nonstop action, not a TNA, a total nonstop action women's division. When I saw Gail, I said, that's it. There's your top baby face. Okay, well, where do we go from here? We got to find them. She became available. We didn't have a lot of valets at the time. I can remember different guys like, well, you're going to make her a babyface. I said, make her a babyface for what? She has no opponent. Let's make her a heel valet and get her over with her athleticism. She don't have to talk. She matter of fact, that may work against her. She doesn't need to be. She needs to be Jeff or America Most Wanted or whoever it is, our heater that wows people with athleticism, do the building blocks, and we need to start looking for females. And I had it in my mind that they need, they're not going to be these 8 super athletes, all bookends that all look like this. Let's go create 6, 8, 10 characters, real characters, and their characters fit their wrestling style. I can remember Vince and Dutch being, okay, all right, I'll buy into that. I see where you're going with this. Let's do the building blocks. And look, whether it was Dutch or not so much Vince, maybe JB, just some of the talent. When the word kind of got out that we're hiring females and looking for characters on that, little by little, they started coming into play. And, the ratings success came a little bit later. But Gail in the early days, her being put with us as a group, me and America's Most Wanted, it just kind of, I thought, clicked because it gave us a different dynamic. We were just different than everything else on the show.
So we know she's going to essentially debut as a valet, and you don't really have a women's division or anything really for her to do. How frustrated was she to be in the valet role and not able to wrestle? Because I don't think she actually wrestles until July of 2006 in a 6-man. Does that sound right?
I'll say this. There's one attribute that Gail Kim absolutely has, and that's patience. Because, I'll say every TV, but almost often, hey, Jeff, I want to wrestle. Hey, let's figure this out. I mean, it wasn't for lack of, hey, I'm just going to sit here and pick up a check. She always wanted to contribute in a positive way. She just did. And again, this is, people that have just watched the last 15 years of wrestling don't really have an understanding and can't even relate. What do you mean you didn't have a women's division? No, just what Conrad said on the brand of professional wrestling that the whole world knew, WWE, they literally were demeaned. They were, they were doing Kiss My Ass Club over there on Vince and had the women, and we were the alternative, but the WWE there was no sense of competition in a ladies match. It was all I think maybe that's the best way to describe it. There was no sense of being a competitive match. It was all an exhibition of, are we going to see a nipple slip here? Or what are they going to be wearing? Or this or that. There was none of that. Gail knew what was in my mind and others within the company is that we're going to build a women's division, and it just didn't happen overnight. And I'm glad it didn't. We built it the right way.
Gail Kim's inspiration, like when she really understood and got into women's wrestling and decided, hey, maybe I like this and I want to do this. Like one of her influences, much like Jeff would count a Randy Savage or a Jerry Lawler, was Molly Holly. That's a name that I don't think gets a lot of praise. I know we're doing a Gail Kim episode and we're heaping some praise on her, but Molly Holly, you spent some time with her in WCW. She was an innovator in her own way, was she not?
Go back and watch that guitar shot. She bumped and fed for the guitar shot, maybe the best ever. She timed the bump after the smash, but a split second. that is a guitar shot that when people show me or that, I'm like, do you realize how talented a girl she is? Go look at all the other guitar shots. And I get it. You know, they stay and then they crumple like a wet rag or whatever it may be. Oh, Holly, oh, Molly Holly. So yeah. And that's why she's still very active in the business today. She understood it very well.
So let's talk about it. Her first match that I think we see with her is, or at least of note, AJ and Christopher Daniels and Sorelda, name from the past, against Chris Harris, James Storm, and Gail Kim. Even then, when she's finally getting to wrestle, it's a mixed tag with men. Timing's just not the best here. Fair to say?
Yeah, we didn't have. I did not want. Well, just what you said. I did not want 1980s women's wrestling. I cringed at that. I wanted highly competitive. I'll say I probably used this a couple of different times. I want an X Division style ladies match. And I know they can't do all the things like that. I mean, they were just, but I wanted action. I wanted I go back to the word competitive. I wanted a women's division that was highly competitive and that they build with stories and payoffs, just like the X Division.
What didn't you like about women's 80s wrestling?
Same thing I didn't like about 3-on-3. People are going to laugh at this. But women's basketball used to be 3-on-3 on each end. So it's a different game, slower, not as athletic. In our world, slow, campy, phony, sloppy.
Well, Meltzer would say of this performance, this wasn't bad, but not at the level of the prior 2 months. The first half of the match was mainly comedy spots, but whenever Sorelda got in, it just killed the momentum of the match dead. That said, Gail Kim did some really cool stuff here, but her style is probably better suited to be a babyface. Unless you're Joey Janela or maybe a GCW fan, I think Gail Kim is a babyface. I mean, I know that that's probably stating the obvious, but you said earlier in our show today, talking about, money promos and all that, you much preferred Ric Flair as a heel. I think the world prefers Gail Kim as a babyface, don't you?
Everybody in creative said, Jeff, you can't make her a heel. I said, then guys, let's drill this down. Who the F is she going to be a baby? If y'all want her as a baby face, who's on the other side of the ring? So now when she goes to the ring with said baby face as a guy, because we don't have any other female of this. So when now it comes out, it's 2-on-1. I said, it's naturally going to put their team in a bad light. Let her come out as a bad bitch. And we didn't have her talk. Let her, I'm directing her or AMW was directing her, and let's just get her over with wowing and distraction. And we strategically placed her to get her going on the show up and running. But I said it the first time that I'm like, okay, yeah, there's your baby face of the division, period. Game, set, match. That's where we're going. She is the baby face. And later we got to do that.
At Hard Justice, we would see Gail Kim beat Sorelda, and that's kind of all she wrote for Sorelda. It's noted in the Observer that she was a failed Scott D'Amore experiment, but I'm curious, considering, where Gail lived and where Scott lived, because I don't know the answer, so I'm asking. Was Gail also a Scott D'Amore? Like, did Scott say, "Hey, Jeff, you got to see Gail. You got to take a look."
The Canadian connection, without question. I don't remember specifically. Maybe JB, maybe a combination. I don't remember specifically how she was entered into. My gut, just by knowing, probably Scott.
We know that one of the other ladies who are going to be a hallmark staple of the women's division here in TNA is ODB. She had been working backstage or working in developmental, I guess, with OVW, but she didn't have a WWE deal. And it was written that Tracy Brooks and Gail Kim were advocating to bring ODB in. Is that the way you remember it, that Gail was pulling for ODB?
That's what I'll get confused, because there was obviously a lot going on, but Tracy, even to the asylum days, but Gail and Tracy, and then, the ladies, I'll say this. That's why, I just got a lot of appreciation for Gail and her contributions and her career and her personality and her patience, because she's like, okay, I believe Jeff. So if Jeff wants to build this division, I'm going to do everything I can. So Gail was a scout, I guess, by default. So yeah, Gail would pitch different ladies. And I knew that if Gail's going to pitch this person, she's pitching someone that she's going to put essentially her career in this opponent's hands. So she kind of validated a lot of folks coming through the door.
Life happens fast. One minute you're driving home after work. The next, you see flashing lights in your rearview mirror. Your heart skips, your hands tighten on the wheel, and you start asking yourself, what do I do now? That's when you need someone on your side. And with the Legal Buddy app, you can connect with a local attorney in seconds, not hours, not days, but right when you need help. Whether it's a DWI, a car accident, a criminal charge, or even just a traffic ticket, the Legal Buddy app puts real legal support right in your pocket. Imagine having an attorney on call, ready to guide you through some of life's most stressful moments. This isn't a call center. It's not a waiting game. It's direct access to a lawyer who understands your situation and your community, and one who can step in right away. Think about it. When trouble knocks, do you want to face it alone, or would you rather have the confidence of knowing a professional is already on your side? That's the peace of mind that Legal Buddy gives you. And here's how easy it is. Just download the Legal Buddy app right now at legalbuddyapp.com. Register today and use the referral code LEGAL for your chance to win a $250 Amazon gift card. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen, tickets happen, mistakes happen. But when they do, you don't have to go through it alone. The Legal Buddy app, always on your side. Download the app today and enter the referral code LEGAL. I want to read you something from the Observer. He's recapping your January 4th, 2007 episode of TV. And this comes out on the Observer dated January 9th, 2007. No, I'm sorry. January 16th, 2007 is when this comes out. He writes, Gail Kim did a promo where James Storm showed up. Storm is good at being the drunken asshole redneck character. Storm bullied her and gave her 1 week to decide what to do. Basically, go back to the family's Korean restaurant waiting tables or manage him. They kept emphasizing how TNA doesn't have a women's division, so clearly the end of the story is they will have a women's division. They can't afford the time for it at this point, and they're also way behind the curve. Unfortunately, people have been womened to death. Nobody cares about seeing women wrestle as a novelty. If they're good, there's nothing wrong with them, but to do it for the sake of doing it isn't going to make any difference. What do you think of Dave Meltzer's words there?
Dave's a hater. He's an early adopter hater of TNA. If TNA would have said it was sun shining, Dave would have said, nope, it's raining, regardless if he looked at the weather report. Dave was, and I didn't really realize it until we got to doing this podcast, how much of a hater, how much of a critique. But you kind of have become a lot better listener over the 8 years. When he published one time that there's only been 2 promoters that never subscribed to his newsletter, Don Owen and Jeff Jarrett, I went, ooh, there's your sign. Dave's Dave.
No, expand on that.
He just look. I have the luxury of looking back, but Dave's narrative on TNA was always very, very, for the most part. Now you can find bits and pieces. He will, for the most part, but he made sure his readers and listeners, and maybe it was a Russo thing, maybe it was a Russo Jarrett, maybe it was, hey, I perceive that they didn't treat Jerry Jarrett. He didn't know a freaking clue about the real story. I perceive that they maybe didn't show him the proper respect, but you can just go back and look through history. Kurt Angle's never had a 5-star match. What? And Kurt said himself his best work was in TNA. I mean, you just little bits and pieces. So anyway, I don't know exactly where you mean to expand on it, but
Well, you said there's two promoters who've never subscribed, Don Owen and Jeff Jarrett, and you said, "Oh, here's your sign." Tell me about that.
he knew that I didn't subscribe, not only physically, but to his line of thinking. He that I didn't give much, all due respect. And maybe it's a Jerry Jarrett ingrained, the quote, "It's not the critic that counts, it's the man in the arena." And I was always the man in the arena. And the metrics I've always gone after my entire life are the real numbers, ratings, box office, merch sales, tangible things, not opinions. Now, of course, you got to listen and take it all in and all that. And look, we've talked about it. Had I played the PR game better, like a lot better with Dave, I think the narrative on TNA would have been radically different, like radically different. And Mike Tenay and Meltzer have been good friends all through the years. He was always very complimentary of Mike. Well, the perception, and I think Mike did what he could do through the years, but sometimes the perception that Mike is more of a traditionalist in professional wrestling. So anything Russo touched, it was negative, just kind of the filters. Dave was never much he was never really a TNA supporter. And contrary, and look, I've said it, the buy rates sucked, but when you get the ratings we got, and Dave was always very, very dismissive of the ratings. Matter of fact, in hindsight, now that I've viewed this, I'm just like, well, damn, he never gave any credit. And the ratings, I dare say, the success story of TNA going from 1 hour on Saturday nights, 1 hour on Thursday nights, to 1 hour in prime, to 2 hours in prime, to doing between 1.5 and 2 million viewers week in, week out. That's a hell of a success story, no matter how you slice and dice it. And you take your rights fee and start at 75 and get to 250. You do the math better than that. That's that in those days, way before the crazy streaming and all those kinds of beats. It was a success story under no matter how you slice it and dice it. But he didn't see it that way, and so his readers didn't see it that way. And so you have little comments like he said, right, to dial it back to the episode, oh, to do women's wrestling, just to do women's wrestling. He's kind of playing armchair subjective critic. Again, that's what I'm saying. My dad taught me it, and I've subscribed to this day. Critics are critics. They're paid to do that. But I knew in 87 when he would write wins and losses from Selmer, Tennessee, and he had every finish completely wrong, I knew as a kid, somebody's probably feeding him the wrong results. That's okay. That's Dave's line of work. I know he wasn't there. So he gets bad information. That's the business he's in. He's in the critic, and he is to this day. He is an opinion, and he's made a shitload of money off of his opinion. So as a businessman, I really respect that. I do. I really respect that.
Let's get back on Gail Kim. One of the next people you're going to bring in to work with her, who's going to attack her, is Miss Jackie. I think at the time she's 41 years old, but you knew her from Memphis. You knew her from WCW. You knew her from WWE. And I know that you hold her in high regard. I think a lot of our listeners do. I don't know that all of our listeners know how well loved she is by the wrestling community behind the scenes. I've never met, quote unquote, one of the boys who didn't hold her in high regard. Why did you feel like she was the right person to work with Gail Kim here?
So I'm racking my brain, and I think one of the first times we were going to do the Gail Kim episode, I researched this. I don't know. Obviously, she got let go of WWE, so I'll just kind of leave it at that. When I knew we had the opportunity to get her, it was boom. Her just, it'll click. She's super talented. She can be a babyface valet because she punches like a babyface. She works like a babyface. But if you put her in the right roles, she can easily be a heel because Jackie understood the business at a real core level. Learned it in Memphis, paid her dues, understood how to win, how to lose, how to be a heel, how to be a babyface, well-rounded. She can be perfect for Gail.
I want to mention that they work a couple of pay-per-views in 6-mans. Against All Odds, it's James Storm and Jackie Moore beating Petey Williams and Gail Kim. Then we've got Destination X, James Storm and Jackie Moore against Petey Williams and Gail Kim in a double bull rope match. So we're having a lot of fun with this. And this is also the era where you're meeting with Spike, trying to get them to expand from, that 1 hour block to that 2 hour block. And I know sometimes people can, die on a hill creatively, but the reality is as much as we may not love the idea of doing mixed tags and we wish there could be women's tags, there's only so much time on a TV show. And if that's your way to sell a pay-per-view, you've got to make sure who's on the pay-per-views also been featured on TV. It's got to be hard to be doing regular pay-per-views with not enough TV time when you're trying to feature and sell a whole card, right?
It is. Look, because we've run this. It's not a topic, but we sold out, and I always tend to say now in hindsight, which is 2020, we sold out a lot more for ratings because we can get the rights fees up as opposed to pay-per-view buys. But with a 2 hour show, the 1 hour show is damn near, I don't say impossible, but it's impossible to do a good job. When you went to 2 hours and selling 4 divisions and let's say 7 or 8 matches, it's still very, very hard. Throw the mix in. We're not quite to the era of a full women's division or a full 2 hours. Just it's super, super challenging. But we were getting there, but you've got to, what was it? 8 segments, 9 segments. Damn, Conrad, you put that up on a whiteboard and you have the monthly segment breakdown. It's just really difficult. It's a creative challenge, to say the least.
We know this is going to lead to a singles match, and it's going to be a featured match with Jackie and Gail Kim. And along the way, I can't believe this is real, but Jackie does a promo, and she calls Gail Kim a slut. Now, a lot of people are going to hear that and feel a certain type of way, as you should. But the rumor and innuendo is that it was Vince Russo who championed verbiage like that. Do you recall that being a discussion at any point? Because that feels like a line that maybe you don't tiptoe over from a sponsor standpoint, or was it just different time in that era?
I mean, it goes without saying, and this is where Russo had to have said that. Like, Dutch was a big proponent. You go back and look at his work in Puerto Rico, like a word like a slut or something like that. If you say it one time and then definitely don't go back for it, not for a couple of weeks, but maybe a couple of months, like really have impact with one word that you have to follow it up with extreme violence or an angle or whatever it may be. So I can't say it was all, I don't remember specifically it was Vince or Dutch. But in professional wrestling and producing a 2 hour or 1 hour, 2 hour television show, if you do something with 2 women and they almost fight, there's not a person in the building that is not standing up. There's just something about, well, we know. I mean, when you see women about to throw down, there's much more energy. And I think still to this day, I think sometimes you can just completely miss the whole ball of wax of the anticipation and the build. We give them everything all the time. Anyhow, I'm getting off in a rabbit hole, but yeah.
I want to ask you about this cage match. Gail Kim and Jackie Moore get 7 minutes and 13 seconds in a cage at Lockdown. And Meltzer would say the match was considerably better than most WWE's women's matches. They worked a hard, stiff style, with the big move being Kim using a missile dropkick. It's weird because outside of the opener, they never really explained the rules, as it regarded to pinfalls or escapes. So they're brawling near the cage door. They're trading elbows and he's breaking it all down, but you can tell Meltzer's getting into it. And I don't think a lot of people would have maybe pegged that, but I also don't think they would have imagined that Jim Cornette was the agent for these matches. Coming out of this, we would learn that the ladies do a blindfold match and Jim Cornette is the agent in charge of that match. And I guess according to the Observer, he had a blast working on it. He was apparently elated with what the women were doing. And I think people who listen to his podcast today may be surprised to hear. I mean, no doubt that he loved Miss Jackie and that he loved Gail Kim, but the idea that it was Cornette getting agent duty for the ladies. What do you think Cornette thought of Miss Jackie and Gail Kim?
Look, I'll say this. When Corny puts his mind to it, it's because he puts everything into it. But Jackie can work. Gail can work. That's all Cornette needs. And then he'll give them the guidance and the mannerisms and the thought through, and I'll call it the wrestling logic. He's just really, really, really good. And I know, welcome back, Bruce, to the podcast, and congrats on that, Conrad. And I've talked about him, Bruce being an executive. If you drill Bruce right now, Brother Love, and he's a creative team and executive or right hand, whatever. I think when you drill Bruce right down to it, him being able to produce a segment is his best skill set. Cornette, great manager, business, just whatever you want to put. But when he gets right down to it, Corny's the same way. Jim Cornette's the same way. Or as my grandmother used to call him, Little Jimmy. He really understands the logic that needs to go through the story of a match. And Jackie and Gail, I'm sure, ate it up like a sponge.
Hey, did you know you can own for less than your current rent? We can help at savewithconrad.com. Stop throwing your money away on rent. You don't know any wealthy renters. Start building wealth for your family with my family at savewithconrad.com. By late September of 2007.
Hold up on 1 minute. Just think in 2025, we're talking about, this is what year, 2007?
07, yeah, 18 years ago.
Jim Cornette is producing a female match with Russo as his colleague.
There's a pay-per-view filled with cage matches. All the matches are in a cage. And in fact, after the cage match, that wasn't the blow off. We're going to do a blindfold match with the ladies, and Russo's going to write the promos, and we're going to have Cornette agent it. What? That's a lot. The world has changed a little bit.
I love it.
Here we are in late September. There's a report in the Observer that the women's title picture to crowning a new champion is changing. 4 of the 5 new women in the women's rumble on Bound for Glory at this point look to be Angel Williams, ODB, Amazing Kong, and Shelly Martinez. There was no play made for Sarah Stark, who was working as Dark Angel in CMLL. They were just looking for 5 new people to fill the 5 spots, as opposed to having an idea of creating a new female star, blah, 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 blah. Who's helping you scout for some of these ladies? Or do you have somebody watching Shimmer? Is this Scott D'Amore? Who's keeping tabs on who's out there? Who can we go grab?
That's what I'm going to put Gail at the very top, but D'Amore, Borash, I'm sure Dutch probably had his ear to the ground and asking different folks. I believe Sarah's visa was not, and I don't know the exact timing, but I know we were interested in her because I said, hey, we need, I was thinking Lucha Stars. Hey, there's this girl down there who she's actually Canadian, but man, she's, uprooted. She's bilingual. Just the different folks of, hey, we want to build a division. Let's go get the best out there. They're out there. We just got to find them.
Something I had a conversation last week that I hadn't thought about, and it was with somebody who works behind the scenes in the biz. I think everybody, myself included, we all look forward to, are there going to be surprises in the Rumble? I'm talking about the January Royal Rumble, because that feels like a fun time to do returns or debuts or whatever. Like if you're introducing a new character, there's anticipation of, oh, who's next? That sort of thing when the buzzer goes off.
But boy, since it's international, they got to have all that shit mapped out way in ahead of time because of visas and shit. I never even thought about that. It's not like, well, we can just sneak them into the building the day before. That won't work here, right?
No, it's going to be interesting.
It is interesting.
But they got enough zeros in the bank, so they'll figure
They'll
it out.
figure it out. Yeah. Let's talk about what happened on September 25th. You guys are going to tape a show in 2007. It's set to air for October 11th. There's only about 400 people there, but Amazing Kong is here, and she's going to pin Gail Kim, and you guys are putting her over as an absolute monster. Was it just immediate that you knew when you saw the chemistry between Kong and Kim, like, oh, here's our David and Goliath of the women's division. We got to get them in lockstep. Was it apparent right away?
Yes. And maybe there is an episode future or a mini episode on Kong. But you know, I was so okay, I'm gonna get this wrong. So we used her, what do we call her? Awesome Kong? Yes.
Yeah.
In Japan, she was Amazing Kong, I
Yeah,
think.
that sounds right. Okay.
Yeah, I think, but all of a sudden I can remember here goes one of those instances like what the we're at the Doubletree bar, Connie. I'd had a few, and I remember there was a big debate. Oh no, Amazing Kong. You can't change that. I said, well, I think that's trademark, and we were getting different stories on this. I said, well, she's awesome, and I've got an idea and mind for her music and these footprints, and she's, you know, it's like King Kong and Awesome Kong and all this. They're like, no. Like they got hung up, and I'm trying to think. Our old buddy Scott, I think it was Demore, somebody in the conversation and I said, hey guys, we're writing this shit. Who gives a shit if she was called Amazing? We need something because Panda mandates that we have some type of IP on these characters. And that was the mandate from Dallas. So she's Awesome Kong. And they're like, oh, okay. But knowing that she had the background and the athletic, just Conrad, just there's the photo. If you're watching us online, if you're not, there's an image of Kia, and exactly that face matched with her aura was, are you kidding me? I mean, off the bat. And I'd say, like, from a mechanics, Gail's very good to great. Kong, she can do her moves and she takes great bumps, but their chemistry of walking to the ring, to the lockup, everything they did. I mean, I think you remove them from the history of TNA, the history of the Knockouts division. I believe they are, and I'll say this, I believe they are the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson of women's professional wrestling.
I love that. The Larry Bird, Magic Johnson of women's professional wrestling. That's kind of fun.
You know, I mean, just that came off the top of my head. I'm the basketball junkie, but you know, they when they entered, because look, there had been the NBA in the 70s and in the 60s, and you know, Celtics, Bill Russell had won all those championships. But you look at kind of the 70s where the NBA was, they had no TV deal, and they had not any good PR. That's where, I mean, it was just, you know, drug deals and it just no butts in seats. And it was just a league that was in a complete disarray. But Magic and Bird kind of captured the imagination and the grit and the West Coast, East Coast, the rivalry, all of that came along obviously at the right time and all that. Same with Gail and Kong. Here are the women, and they had done bra and panties and pillow fights, and like you said, on all fours barking like dogs. And you know, just the thought, and even the critic Meltzer, who loves a good story or a match, he just didn't have anything really good to say about women. People don't care to watch women just have a match. And along come Gail and Kong at the right time, at the right place, and I think on the alternative brand, and it broke through. And I think the world perceive women's professional wrestling entirely different after this program.
Well, I wanted to talk about that because it feels like we've got a lot of momentum headed in the right direction. But as we start the first 2-hour show for Impact, we see Gail Kim beat Jackie Moore in 3 minutes and 32 seconds with a neck breaker. But it's called, and I wish I was making this up, the happy ending. Meltzer says, luckily, most people don't know what that means, so they don't realize how racist it is. It's a term for an Asian woman in a massage parlor masturbating a customer after giving him a massage. Luckily, Vince Russo found religion, or God knows what this show would be at today. Man,
Totally forgot that.
probably wish we had that one back, huh?
Yeah, I totally forgot. Did we just move on from it? Because that's bad, you know?
Yeah, that's bad. I mean, I assume this is, I'm not trying to pile on Russo here, but like, man, you blush if I say damn on the show. So this is Russo I mean, who says, hey, Gail, here's what we're going to do. Like, golly, that's just awful.
It's gotta be, but here's the filter that I'm a little surprised at, in that we used to have production meetings and then bake from production meetings. And then Mike Tenay would sit down and think through the entire episode. And Don West may go to cater it and then come back. And then they'd kind of go through the show. And if there's any holes in the show or questions, Mike would have it. He'd say, hey, Dutch, what's this? So at some point, for those words to come out of Mike's mouth, he had to say, hey guys, what's Gail's finish called?
Right.
You know, go through this. And so it had to have kind of gone through that filter. Interesting. But how long did we use it?
I'm not sure.
My gut tells me we probably moved on with that, but yeah, not a good look, huh? As they say, didn't age well, as they say.
October 14th, 2007, Bound for Glory 2007. It's a big moment in TNA history. It's a big moment in Gail Kim history. She's going to win a gauntlet style rumble match to crown the first ever TNA Knockouts champion. It goes 12 minutes and 8 seconds. There's lots of talent here that we're going to see in the future for this new women's division. ODB, Amazing Kong, Shelly Martinez, Miss Brooks, Angel Williams, Christy Hemme, Roxy. I mean, we've got kind of the foundation here.
Mm-hmm.
But Gail Kim gets the nod. You could have went a different direction here. You could have went a million different directions. You went with Gail Kim. Was it even debatable? Did everybody know? You know, was it unanimous? Talk us through how she gets the nod.
And I don't remember the specific creative, but so I don't want to even pretend to think anybody would have fought that. But I go back to what we said at the very top of the Gail Kim subject. She's charisma. She's a baby face. It's a no-brainer. If we're crowning a division, there was no even second thoughts. Who's going to be the first champion? Gail Kim.
We're going to stop it right there. We've got a lot more to talk about on Gail Kim, but I thought it would be a story of perseverance today to talk about how she was first discovered in WWE in 2002. They put the belt on her and literally have no other plans. She's gone by late 2004, and then she signs 6 months later with TNA, but they don't do anything for a while. They've got to build the division. It feels like a different time and place.
Boy,
Gail Kim, certainly a trailblazer, certainly an innovator, somebody who had to deal with a lot of good old boy shit. You can just tell from the way some of this is shaking out today. The world wasn't ready for her, and I can't help but think, man, if she would have come along 10 years later, 15 years later, what could have been? We'll pick it up in the coming weeks here as we talk more about Gail Kim. But I was so glad to see her show up at GCW the other week, Jeff, like getting out there and doing some stuff and having some fun. Why not?
Well, yeah, exactly. Why not? I guarantee you, she's good for the GCW brand, regardless of how things were, and I don't know exactly where things stand today. But
She took a booking there, Jeff. Come on.
well, that's good. No, I that's what I'm saying. Where's it going now? Does she have another appearance lined up?
We'll have to tune in on Fight and see what they're saying about it. I for one am looking forward to tomorrow night. There's going to be another AEW live. I think it's in Indianapolis. Do I have that right?
Fishers, Indiana, right outside of Indianapolis. Beautiful building. But yes, we are headed to Indy.
AEWTIX.com. I'll be watching from home, but this weekend, Ring of Honor's got a pay-per-view, and I'm going to be tuned in. Can't wait to see that. And I don't know. I mean, I checked my phone during the show. I did not get any sort of alert that I've received my money.
He's not out of school yet. We've got a couple hours. So,
well, just let him know that, I'm going to start having to put interest on the VIG, with each passing day, because he's past due now, Jeff.
He may want to do double or nothing on something. You never know about that crazy man.
Well, Lord, we'll have to pray for Cody Angle. In the meantime, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us, talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of professional wrestling. We want to know who are your top 5 talkers. Let us know in the comments. Next week, we are going to be having a conversation about heels. Stay tuned for that. And I'm sure we're going to get closer and closer to talking about John Cena's last match. It's next weekend, Jeff. Doesn't it feel like we just blinked and he announced that he was wrapping it up, and now it's almost over?
I kid you not. Talking about time flying. We're literally talking about Chicago. The end of the month wraps the year for AEW and pay-per-view. I feel like that. I don't know. God, yeah, buddy. The days just blend into years now that we've skipped weeks and months. It's unbelievable, but we'll be back here next week. No, had a lot of fun today. It's good. We ended the Gail Kim story on her winning the championship, picking it up there and seeing her progress. There's a lot of meat left on that bone, because it was that knockouts division. Yeah, there's a lot there, a whole lot there. I enjoyed it.
And there's going to be a whole lot more next week right here on My World. Hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications bell, and we'll see you next week right here on My World.
Peace.
Did you put Christmas on a credit card? Don't stress out about that extra holiday spending. SaveWithConrad.com can help you consolidate all of your high interest rate credit cards into one much lower monthly payment. SaveWithConrad.com has helped families just like yours save up to $800 a month. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. And did I mention no payments until March? So don't make saving money a resolution next year. Make it happen today at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.